right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. It is December 2024, and we're really excited for this. This is one of my favorite Friday Lives. Friday Live is our monthly meetup that we have for our FileMaker community. This is part of our give back, hopefully, and always do a little bit of self-love in there too with FM BetterForms. This week we have about 10, 11 presenters who are members of our community, and really want to thank everybody for being able to come out today and participate and kind of show off all the cool stuff that we've built this year, and maybe tell us what's in store for next year. I wanted to take a couple seconds and just give a quick shout out. Oh, sorry, I might not be previewing here, so let me just make sure. I might have my screen pause there. All right. After our presentations today, we'll do about 5 to 10 minutes per app. We're going to have our regular swag draw and then our post-show hangout. I want to take a couple seconds to thank our team. We had an in-person meeting. We're all virtual. Most of us are in the Toronto area, but some of us are outside the area, and I'm not sure why some of the images are not showing up. Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. So we have a few other people who weren't there in person. They were unable to make it. But special thanks on behalf of our team to our community, and then vice versa. I wanted to thank our team for doing a great job, I think, this year. We're really, really excited about some of the stuff coming out next year. We've got some very, very big changes that we'll talk about next month. A few things coming up. I'm not sure who's attending Engage Austin. We will be there. That's in March. I'm not sure. We haven't decided who's all going yet, but somebody from the team is going to be there for sure. And Alexis Allen has recently announced that she's having a conference in Toronto on May. That's going to be, I think, May 25th to the 27th, something like that, called Elevate FM. The goal of this conference is to look at best practices, things that can kind of grow in terms of either development, grow in the quality of your apps, and that type of a thing. So that look out for information on that. We don't have very much information other than her LinkedIn post, but we did submit some talks ourselves for that. And if that ends up totally going through, you'll see all of our team there as well. So we're kind of excited that we have something in our hometown, in our backyard. So hopefully some of you guys can come out if once we have the information announced. All right. So I don't want to spend too much time. I want to jump right away. And I think our first presenter is going to be Lin Xu, and she's one of our internal team developers, and she's just going to be showing some features that she's built in an app or two. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and we'll jump to your screen.
Okay, it's my screen sharing. Everyone can see it? Okay. Okay, this is the app I built with Antoine. So there's a cremation CRM app. Basically, we have a dashboard which can be filtered for some summary of the tasks, and we have a task page. It's a summarized. I think I can hide this. Okay, so it's of the list of the tasks. Sorry, the original of this app is English, but we update to French, and I don't speak much French, so I may click the wrong button. So this is the task detail view, and we can like make it two columns of it, and there's two versions of that, and we have something like different tasks you can choose. And you can see there's I think it's the history of actions. Here we are using our new feature of the component. So everywhere we see history of actions, either in the page or in the CAD model, is built with our component. So we have a component of history actions. And let's move on to the next part. So that is dossier. It's quite similar with the tasks. We have the similar version of that, and you see all this part. Now we don't have any data for this, but it's still the same component with of the history of actions. Now I can show you the very cool feature for this. So for each task, we have like send messages, send emails, or telephone, or some print, something like that. And we have our own template for each of those tasks. And you can choose or choose a template for each task. And we have the templates. So those are our active templates, and we have some filters here. And you can see for each task, we have tags, or we call it placeholder, which can be like, I think it's animal name, right? Animal name or client name, or and I don't understand this French, sorry. And those placeholders can be recognized from the text from the template. So you can see it's rendered in the different style. So let's go to the, if I want to edit a template, you can see here is not a traditional task area we are using. It's filled with content editable div. I think we have post a video clip for this earlier this year. And you can see if I want to edit something, I can just click the placeholder here and will be rendered with all the text. And if I send this to the backend, we run another named action, which will filter all the text and removes the text, removes the styling of the text and send the pure text to the backend. And when the backend, when we call the data from the backend, we recognize each placeholder and place the styling tag for those. Yeah, this one is cool, very cool. The next part will be the users. So similar with the task, we can see the users table, and there's a details page for each user, and we can edit or delete. Okay, any questions for this?
I like the tag idea. That's pretty neat with a template. I'm not sure. Is anybody else doing any kind of templates or anything like that? Any kind of dynamic templates, even in just pure FileMaker?
Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to show. And I think this idea of the tags for template will help our developers, and you can make a dynamic text area. I mean, text place.
Yeah, I think you've featured this once before. Do we have a demo video or an example video? Maybe we could put that into a separate one so people could learn how to do that technique, because I think that could be useful. Or even if we made it a separate page or something as an example page, perhaps.
Yes, we have a demo video. We posted it earlier, I think, earlier this year
Perfect.
in our LinkedIn.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Next we have Pearson, who's our UX designer.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah, I'm the UX designer at FM BetterForms and Delft Engineering. For those of you who don't know, but I think most of you probably have been recurring uh, guests at our conference or had interactions with me. But yeah, this year was fun, and I want to share a couple interesting projects that I worked on, one internal and two external. First, I'm going to share just a little recap of this drag and drop editor that we've been talking about for a while, and we actually got to show off, I think last Friday Live, or maybe a couple Friday Lives ago, and just getting your guys' opinions and using it a little bit and getting to actually put some real hands on the product, which was really exciting. And what I got most out of that was just getting a feel for how usable it was and areas that I can improve that would make it a little more simple and intuitive to use, but also just kind of make it look nicer and more organized. So for example, what I'm going to focus on right now is this side panel. So for those of you who don't know or who missed the demo, this is our drag and drop editor where you can literally drag and drop elements onto the page. You have a visual representation of what your page looks like. You're not hard coding onto a a board of text. So this right side panel is where you're kind of controlling a lot of these um, attributes of certain elements. So for example, right now I have this table selected, and a table, there's a lot going on with this table. We have all these actions, and how are we setting the columns? They're all labeled in here, and you can add more. Um, what are the classes for the columns? What's going to be bold? What's going to be, aligned in the middle? And, this is usable, but it's not very pretty, and it's a little confusing. So what I wanted to do was just improve that section right here. So I'm going to share my other screen on some quick modifications that I made to pretty it up a little bit. And so here I just have a screenshot, you know, showing what it used to look like, and here's how I want it to look. Um, and in this case, I have a table selected in the middle. Right now it's not showing. I just have it as a blank gray. But if I have a table selected in the middle, now I have all of these options that I can drop down and open up or close to save myself some space. So here's what it looks like if they're all closed up. And if I come over here, everything's opened up, and I have a lot more visual indicators of what certain things do. And down here, for example, I have a hierarchy of uh, of attributes that I can open up and close. I can see here are my options, and within my options, I have some settings for my headings. I have some settings for how I want to order things by. I want to show which columns are sortable and which ones aren't, and I can simply just click check on, check off. I want this column to be a sortable column. I don't want this other one to be. Um, and what something that I am excited for and I think is cool is for these badges. These badges represent certain classes that you're applying to these elements. So in here, I have some, what are the general style classes for this column? And I have this set as text blue 500, and I have a little swatch to show that color. So in the case of opening up this classes drop down, and I want to scroll through all my colors and see which one do I want to pick. Now I'm going to get a little preview to show the gradient of shades that I have available for selecting. And also just another small change is the exclamation mark, and that represents, I believe it's called overriding. So
Yeah,
if you have,
important.
oh yeah, it's important, so it does override other other classes. And so that's if um, you have two conflicting classes, you can choose one to override the other. And that's simply just by adding an exclamation mark at the beginning um, of your class. So if I have a line left and I put an exclamation mark here, just by typing it, and I click enter, then it should. I have to do this manually here. Or you know what? I have to do it here. Yeah, I will show the exclamation mark or the important symbol in the badge itself, just so that you can see, oh, some of these classes have conflicting other classes. I need to make this one important. This is going to be the one that's applied to my style. So just some small changes, but I think it's really exciting. I think it cleans it up a lot and hopefully makes it more usable. These changes haven't been implemented yet, but I'm excited for when it gets launched and you guys can continue playing around with this drag and drop editor and make some cool stuff. The
One,
next couple, oh yeah, go ahead, Charles.
sorry, I was just going to say one of the feedback that we got from our community, from you all, is that even though we've removed the JSON, you still see a huge field of attributes. And there has to be some attributes. In fairness, FileMaker has 3 or 4 tabs across the top full of various attributes. They're just layered up a little bit more. So we're used to seeing that. I think this is a really nice interpretation of or method of dealing with all of these dynamic ones. Just from a coding aspect, it's kind of interesting. If you're interested to see how this works under the hood, how you create all of this dynamic display, we can have a talk on that because it's kind of interesting the way it's actually been implemented underneath. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy. I think I have a couple allergies lingering, but if you can bear with me. Next, I wanted to show off a couple other external projects that I worked on this year. One of them was this, and I before I get into the final product, I want to show kind of what I was dealing with. And this is one of those projects where I'm taking something that taking a system that exists and trying to make it better or just improving upon something that already exists. And this was my first time working with like designing for FileMaker. This isn't a web app or anything, but um, here's my noted screenshot of an existing FileMaker system where it's just there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of unnecessary buttons and functionalities that, talking to our client, they described this part isn't important, this part we never use, this part is important, and we need to make this usable. So these are my notes trying to understand what is most important, that's highlighted in blue, and what can we completely, get rid of, and that's obviously what's X'd out. And I thought this was a challenging project, or it's still in the works, but it's been challenging, but in a good way, I think, where it forced me to kind of understand how to reorganize something, but also, learning how to design for FileMaker. I've found that it's not incredibly different, but there are some key differences that make it a little more unique or a little out of the scope of what I'm used to. So taking this and trying to make it more organized, this is the first iteration where I've simplified the structure, so it's not all over the place. I've tried to group everything into their own sections, and on top of that, I've given the FileMaker file um, its own header that can navigate throughout the rest of the FileMaker app, because not only was their content a little messy, but the way they navigated was also pretty jarring. And I think I have some screenshots of just those menus, for example. So, up here there were a couple. There's a layout menu, there's a main menu, and all that meant was I think there's a main menu to navigate around the whole FileMaker system, and there's a layout menu for the navigating specific elements of that page. So here's what a main menu was, and that would just open up a separate window. And this is the one of the layout menus. There's a lot of menu options, and I want to simplify that too. So here I took uh, a couple buttons called main menu, and this one's called page menu, where each of those will open up a drawer on either side. So if you open up the main menu, here's where you have all your main content, your main app content, where you have some uh, some headers, opening file, drilling fluids, organisms, and you open that up and you see what's below, or you see what's inside. And so this way, I can fit 15 different pages in a single navigation bar without overwhelming the user with you know all of those options at once. So here, test menus has a bit of a large uh, a large you know catalog of pages, but some of them are a little shorter. And here's just a representation of all of the other pages. And same with the page menu. where if you open it up on the right side, you have the same kind of idea, but these are just a different set of pages. I think these are more um, uh, more specific to this page in itself. So that's one of my other projects, and a third one that I want to show just really quickly. I had a lot of fun building. Was this a user portal for patients at a laser eye surgery clinic. So here I just have some basic auth pages. Um, and I think, this I'm also kind of showing how I've evolved my handoff of designs
Mm.
where, I know sometimes or quite often there's questions about responsiveness and how does this look on a small screen and how does it look on a large screen. So I'm really trying to be conscious of that and provide answers before questions come up, because I want to assume that those questions are going to be asked because they're good questions to know. So here, for example, I have a large a large screen desktop um, dashboard view. And so this, I just wanted to show, here are the upcoming appointments. Here's some messages between patient and clinic. But what happens when the screen gets smaller? Obviously, I'm going to lose a little space. So here, for example, I've had to remove, I still wanted to show this information, but I have to remove a couple icons just for the sake of space. Um, this is a small screen, but likely it's not going to be this small on anybody's computer. But just in case, I'm showing all of the necessary information, and I just removed these little icons because they're not critical. But on a large screen, it fills up a little bit of the negative space, makes it look nicer.
Cool.
And throughout the app, it's just something interesting. I had fun designing it. I think it looks nice. Here's a messaging system.
Could you
Um,
zoom in a bit, Pearson? Just really
yeah.
small on our screens there.
Oh,
There we
sorry
go.
about that. Yeah, and this is I took a lot of design inspiration from our own chatbot, our AI helper, and so I was able to reuse some of those components here. And next is just here's a form. Patients have to fill it out before going into their appointment. And something maybe to consider if anybody here is designing or maybe doing some um, design handoffs to their developers. There's 50 pages or 20 pages of forms that I don't want to design manually and hand off because that just takes up unnecessary amount of time. What am I redesigning a whole form for? All I need to do is design what do those form inputs look like. And so this is just another technique that I used for this project where I don't need to create each page because those pages I created the layout and now we can rearrange and add inputs as we need. So here's just how I've designed the inputs, and those can be used to recreate the existing form that they've already provided. So now we can just say, here's what a yes no answer or a yes no question looks like when no is selected. When you select yes, now you have an option to input some data. Here's how and this is the interface that they already use for their form. So you know I've just copied what do they have and how can I make it um, updated. So if you want to add some items to this list, here's how you do it. Here's a couple tables that are in the form. Um, yeah, just figured this would be a much more time efficient way to hand off a design for something that is just repeated, over the course of 20 pages.
Definitely makes it easier for us devs.
hmm And lastly is just the account page. Here's what the person sees when they are modifying their account and their personal information. Um, but yeah, again, just thought this was a fun project. I thought it looked nice, and figured I'd share it with you guys for the end of the year.
Awesome.
Any
Thank you.
questions on any questions on any of the three projects I shared, or
I just want
otherwise
to
I can.
point out, like, I thought it was interesting how you mentioned that uh, it wasn't necessary for you to design every form because you could design the parts so that presumably the developer could build every form. But the developer could also say the same thing. They could say, I don't need to build every form. I just need to build the tool for the client to make their own forms.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is actually kind of what the client has asked for. They wanted to make sure that they had the ability to add and modify their form if they choose to. So I think that's also just a really important element of just making, if you're designing for somebody else, make sure that they can use it and modify it.
That's interesting, Jason. So they like from a dynamic aspect, really, really easy to do that as well in BetterForms because it's just JSON. So you can assemble, and numerous people in our community have done this already, where from their FileMaker interface, they say, I want this field, that field, more or less through a portal, add the records in the portal, and each record represents a BetterForms element, and it just renders on the front end.
And just
Our
imagine,
example app has that as well. Sorry, Pearson.
and just imagine at some point when, you know, if you're a dev house using BetterForms and you're handing off to another client and they have a form like this, they can just jump into the drag and drop editor. You've already created the components that they can drag and drop onto the screen, rearrange them however they want, and yeah, make it really simple for everybody.
Yeah, or even better, let's not let's not let them touch anything and give them an interface for that. But we could do that too. Yeah, so you can have any level of customization there, which is pretty cool. All right, thanks, Pearson. Next we have Jeroen.
Charles, can I ask one question? I
Certainly.
just noticed a stark contrast between the first example that Linux gave and then the Pearson, mainly in terms of like the amount of color used. Are there pros and cons that you guys see? Is it one easier for visually impaired? Is it like I found the first one
The first
really
one wasn't designed by us.
okay?
That for just a
Got
to
it.
disclaimer that
Got it.
they had
Yeah,
their
the
own
first one I
designer for
thought
that.
the color really was a call to action. Anytime there was a color there, it was a button and it was a really strong call to action. Versus Pearson gives more color to like show me where the groups are and those type of things. I was just curious what the pros and cons to the two styles are.
Yeah, I'd say maybe not. I wouldn't even maybe consider it pros and cons because I don't think, I mean, there are some cases where using too much color is a con, but it's more just different use cases and kind of the brand identity that you're trying to um, propose to the user, where you know this is a really fun, colorful app, and we want you to feel like you know these positive emotions because there's all these vibrant colors in your face, and sometimes it's more, this is a serious app and color is not necessary unless we want to bring your attention to something. um, and so even in like a more colorful app is usually because there are a lot of things that maybe your eyes are supposed to be drawn to. In my case it was you know, some buttons here and some contrast to show groupings there. I think in the messages section of that web that
Mhm.
patient portal, I had indicators for this is an unread message, this is a message of this type of category, and this is another message of this other category that you can see differences between with the colors. So
Yeah.
it's more about what is the purpose of using color and does it benefit the user in some kind of way, or is it just a very serious this is not a colorful
Yep.
experience.
Got it. Got it.
Awesome. I'm gonna have Jeroen take the screen here,
Yes.
just so we can keep moving along.
Am I sharing? I think so, right?
Yes, you are.
I'll try to stick within the 5 minutes.
5 to 10.
Can we get rid of this thing? Yeah. I would like to focus a bit on the three different things we're somehow looking at lately in our projects. We have an example here, an iframe in a WordPress page, which is actually quite nice because it's just a simple small BetterForms app that is put into a WordPress website that is not built by us, and it's pretty ugly actually, but we try to commit to the requests of the client and put it in there.
Second one is a SaaS product that we built based on a completely new backend FileMaker. And the third one is a rebuild of a FileMaker application that the client actually said, I want to stop with the FileMaker clients, and we're rebuilding it completely to a BetterForms client situation. So that is something to look at real quick. So as you can see here, the top part here, actually the header and this green bar is actually part of a web page, and the bottom part that is not built by us, but is a WordPress website. And then within this website, you can zoom in on a map. You can do a search on a city in the Netherlands, and you can zoom in and you see the different logistic spaces show up. If we zoom in further, the list here on the right side, gets smaller. It's a kind of Airbnb kind of work, right? What is done here. We injected this in the WordPress part. The application in the backend is just a simple one pager, right? A one page production, and works actually really nice. It's hooked up to the database in the backend, and the database in the backend is in full use. It's a complete FileMaker application that is that's used and worked with. Zoom in a bit. By the company, but we extended it with that little piece of BetterForms, and so that's actually pretty nice. So this is all FileMaker. We hook it up with BetterForms, and that's this result. The second one I would like to show you is a SaaS product that is. Let's see if I know the password here. It's actually being built as we speak currently. We're in the middle of production, trying to build something that is, for a company that's in health, security, and environment. So basically, they have different projects on which they are busy with and hook up companies, employees, equipment, and then at that builder site, it's are basically builder sites. That have people connected to it. The people need to register all kinds of documentation. They have to have certain mandatory documents like IDs and certifications, training documents they need. They can open the training documents right from here, check if the training document is okay, and then approve it. This is a client and constructor level thing and an employee. So the clients log in their own environment. The contractors and subcontractors log in their own environment, and the employees log in with a PWA. So they also register for certain classes. They have, if they report incidents on the workaround with a mobile phone. If an incident is reported, the front office can take care of that. The project manager look at the details, do all kinds of stuff. Inspectors are coming by, and they with their iPads they open an inspection, and currently doesn't look like this all work in progress. Let me see if I can have an example here. Yeah, so they have an iPad on which they actually answer all kinds of questions. As long as the questions are okay, nothing happens. If it's not okay, they have to report a finding, put images to it, etc., etc., and eventually making a whole kind of a report at the end of the day, right? All the equipment needs to be inspected at certain times and time frames. Equipment needs to be booked for that project. Okay, I need a truck, or I need a crane, or I need 100 hard hats for a period of so much time. So this booking of items can be done based on a schedule, etc., etc. So this is basically yeah, a bit of the look and feel. The backend is quite simple. It's a straightforward FileMaker database with really not a lot of with a lot of tables, but not a lot of fields, and definitely not a lot of relationships. That is yeah, that's the pro of starting fresh, right? Just creating a new database and right away build your BetterForms on top of that. That's definitely pretty different in a old FileMaker database we got from this company. I think this database was updated over the period of 12 years or so. This look and feel is already built by us a couple of years ago. It's quite new, but if you look in the backend, and that was a heritage we got, this looks not too bad yet. But if we do, what is it? Sorry, let's do this. Look at that. That's your typical, what is it? 1995 database structure or something. That's not really cool, of course. So we decided to completely start all over. But if you look at the menu structures and what they, sorry, let's go back here. What they do here, they have the records with all kinds of tabs. Better to see here. Leads, lessons, advisory things. All the tabs that are here is now rebuilt by us in a environment that looks like this. Oops, sorry, a bit too quick with all that. Sorry. Now, I want to go there. I want to go here. Sorry. This is work in progress. Don't look at this dashboard yet, but you can see that if we go here, we using basically the same kind of tab style structure that we had in previous. Let's zoom in a bit in previous in the previous application. So they will recognize quite easy, I think, what they're doing. Again, this is a really premature stage yet. We are only busy with this for 1 month now, and we're trying to rebuild the whole thing and yeah, make something nice out of it, and rebuild the full database, by the way. Yeah? We don't use the old database anymore. We just build new tables, new structure, and that structure is as flat as a pancake, and making it fast and usable. Yeah, so that's pretty much the 3 parts that I would like to show for this moment.
Those look really great. Thank you. Any questions on any of those?
Aaron, when you say flat as a pancake, how flat are you making that?
The developers basically got the message: if we don't need any calculation fields, don't make calculation fields. If we don't need any relationships, don't make any relationships. The good thing about this structure is we don't manage anything in FileMaker. We're going to manage it all from the front end, from the BetterForms side. So we don't need to make relationships in FileMaker if not completely necessary for some reason. But we try to yeah, keep it single tables.
Nice.
And
Actually, you
means
get to
currently,
sorry.
I think there are only 4 or 5 relationships in that whole application up to now, but there probably will be more, but we'll keep it to a minimum.
Well,
Ashley, are you still good to go next, or?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, awesome.
All right, good. Let me just share my screen here real quick. All right, can you see it okay?
Yeah.
All right, so just like everybody else's, mine is still a work in progress, but I have 2 things I really want to show. One, well, my background is in construction, so my app, I do have a SaaS product, and it is in regards to construction project management and drawing management. So We first started off this year, actually in April. My solution is 100% web direct, or it was. And so here's a screenshot really of that right now. So I've got a couple of clients, and you can see over to the left, they've got different projects. And then there are different things that they do within the project management system. They create contracts, purchase orders, they do daily logs, things of that nature. But really what I wanted to show off, and one of the cool things is we had this drawing feature in the old WebDirect. With it, you could upload your architectural drawings for a project, and you could view those drawings and zoom in and zoom out. You could make annotations and text and things of that nature, but it was really pretty clunky in doing it in WebDirect. And so I worked with Andrew with BetterForms, and what we've done, this is obviously the BetterForms version. Again, still a work in progress. We've got some lipstick we want to put on it eventually, but we've got a custom menu over here to the left that we've done. And the main thing that Andrew and I have worked on lately is this drawing feature. And so again, you can bring up your set of construction drawings. Obviously you can filter whether you're looking at electrical or structural or civil, etc. But one thing we have incorporated recently that we're pretty excited about is be able to click on these drawings, and there is a third-party viewer that we have put in place. Again, still kind of working on things, but within here, you can create text. You can put in arrows, lines, things of that nature. You can save it to where it is seen only by the person who added those things, or you can put it into what we call a published state, where everybody on the project team can log in and see these things. But we also have the ability to link to FileMaker tables. And so I can come in here, and whether or not may or may not know what a punch list is, but when you get to the end of a construction project, you have a number of small items that have to be completed, where somebody put a ding in a wall, or there's a chip off of a countertop or something of that nature. And so you want to be able to put a pin in a particular room and then be able to click on it. And when you do that, it brings up a particular table within FileMaker, and you can describe what that punch list item is and save it. And then it is detailed to that particular item on the drawing. And so this way, subcontractors can come in later on and go into a particular room and see all the things that are associated for them that they need to fix. And so this is a big, big help, excuse me, in managing a construction project that can have thousands of punch list items at the end of the project. We don't have it finalized yet, but you'll eventually be able to add photos across the site. You'll be able to add what's called observations across the site. You would do a number of different things, and you can save these, and they save back. And then when you come back to that drawing, you can see these items that the manager has put on. So that's a real quick version of what we've been working on, but there's a ton of work in regards to this and what we're doing.
That's really cool. Thank you, Ashley.
Yep.
Jesse, I know you're tight for time. Are you good to go right now?
Yeah, I can do that real quick. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Welcome back.
Thanks. Let me share my screen. So quick context, I've got a vertical market solution. It's called Unbound 360. And in the last year, we've been working on a new module for it, for the independent school space. And what we've been working on is some technology that allows us to de-anonymize website traffic. So when you think about how your website interacts, and you get people that come onto a website, and you get them all the way through to a call to action, but they don't fill the form out, they don't apply, they don't inquire. So what we wanted to do is to help schools figure out what was going on with that and to have a better understanding of that. So this is live data for a school, Pulaski Academy in Arkansas, and this map shows all of their website traffic from yesterday for new and unique visitors that were on their website. So any of the looking glasses that are purple, we know that those particular visitors had children. We know that the ones that were in green do not. Pulaski Academy is in Little Rock, Arkansas. So we'll zoom in a little bit on their location. And so we can see there's a 10-mile radius from their campus. This is a 25-mile radius from their campus. And we can see the individuals who were, looking at their website. Over here on the left, obviously, we've got kind of a list of everyone who came through and took a look. And if you see that there's a child icon, the target means that they hit one of the pages that we care about, whether it's admissions or academics or about, because those typically show buying behaviors. And then the green flag means that they definitely hit one of the admissions pages. So we can click into one of those records, and that takes us to the visitors tab. And then we can get very specific as to the individual information on that particular visitor. So in this case, we can see their education, their real estate value, and then let's look at the 4 pages they visited. So we know that they hit the tuition page 3 times. So from a buying perspective, this is somebody that's probably a hot buyer for the school. So this is somebody that they might want to reach out to and say, hey, here's some more information about our school. You should take a look. But we're also using AI connected to this. So we generate a custom marketing plan for this individual. So the school knows exactly what language to use, what's important to this particular person, and what tactics they might want to use to market to them directly. And we're also connecting the Experian Mosaic. And Experian Mosaic is a marketing tool that basically gives you all of the information you need in the marketing world to understand kind of buyer behavior and how best to get somebody to commit and to purchase your products. So super excited about this. The amount of data that we're able to collect is pretty shocking. So if I want to get all the data on this particular record on Jordan Janicki, I can click this little icon right here, and using a great little JavaScript library that will pull in the record for Jordan. And I'll scroll this really quickly, but if you notice, there's a lot of fields here. And we get information. There's a lot of stuff here. I don't want to bore you with all of it, but we can tell you what their current credit score is. We can tell you what the VIN number of their vehicle is. So if anything else, this will probably scare you from using the internet ever again. But this kind of information can help a school make a good decision on a prospective family when they're in the marketing mix. So this is all being done. BetterForms runs all of it in a simple, FileMaker database in the background. And then we've got full documentation for our customers in terms of what they're doing with how they want to market. And then there's that Experian Mosaic document to teach people how to use the Experian Mosaic system. And this is like a 400-page PDF that lives in the tool itself. So so pretty cool. We just hit general availability, so it's being released out there in the market right now, and schools are buying it and using it. So
Mark had a question here.
Yeah, fire away. Mark says,
You have to unmute, Mark.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm having issues with my microphone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. Actually, that's really cool looking. And I understand you might not want to share this information, but can I ask what data API you're using?
So we've got the Unbound tool itself runs with about a dozen different API tools. We use Zillow. We use a tool called Atom, which is a real estate tool. And then the one that generates a lot of this data is a proprietary tracking pixel. And that pixel lives on the school's website. And we use that pixel to then go back and connect to a database of roughly 300 million or so data points that looks at consumer behavior, purchasing power, and basically if you have, and we can go even further down into the mobile device ID. So we can be even more hyper targeted on advertising if we wanted to. So
is any of the data coming from Trestle?
Not at this point.
Okay, just curious because that's what I've been checking. And then the other question was, with the, some of the anti-tracking and privacy and blocking stuff coming, is there any fragility here?
So that's the reason why we did this as a pixel and not as cookies.
Okay.
We're able to describe this to our customers as like putting a Ring doorbell on your school. We only care about what you do on our campus. We care about you looking at our gym or looking at our library, or looking to see what the grounds look like. And once you leave, if you go to Walmart, I don't care. If you go to ESPN, I don't care. We're not tracking your behavior outside of our site. We're only just making sure that we know what you're doing when you're on our site.
Wow, that's really neat. And so for the foreseeable future, you think that kind of gets you around all that?
Yeah, it does. And we tried to be, and obviously, look, we don't know what's coming next with any of these regulations on data privacy, and we're always kind of paying attention to GDPR. But and I will say that this particular technology only works in the continental US, so we can't we can't serve it in Germany or Sudan or Brazil or anything like that. It only works in the continental US. But right now we're pretty confident that we are right where we need to be from a data privacy standpoint.
Nice.
Thanks. That's really cool, Jesse.
Thanks. So obviously we have a lot of cool stuff coming with it, and BetterForms is helping us make this happen and firing on every day. So it's good stuff.
You have any
Awesome, Jesse. Thanks for sharing. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
any data from the school's perspective on before and after, kind of how this has helped them with their recruiting and so on?
Yeah, so there's been a couple of major use cases. The first, obviously, is it helps them uncover kind of who's not immediately in their admissions funnel. So kind of figuring out who hasn't completed the call to action and then re-engage them in various ways. The other piece, which is always interesting, is schools are going to start to use this heavily in February and March when they issue their contracts, and then they can look to see who's coming back and looking at the website again, who's re-engaging, who's doing kind of that second look before they do end up signing up.
Perfect. Thank you.
And the other cool thing is that there's other use cases in the school. So development offices are using it, and you'll notice this is a big national push. So they can now see who of their long lost alums are clicking back into the website. So there's a lot of great use cases for it. Cool.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Really cool. Thanks for bringing us up to date on what's new.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Next, we have Chris Conger from NaviQ.
Here. So when we presented this catalog that we built in conjunction with the whole BetterForms crew, a couple BetterForms Live ago, 2 or 3. So I'm not going to go through all the details, but it's been awesome for our client. We actually had a feature request came afterwards. So this is our dev data, but let's go to the real one just so you can get a look at how it actually looks. They love how it works. They can control these tags and determine what shows up in what tags for them. Gives them a ton of different flexibility in here to have multiple options. And for our clients, it's just been a game changer for them. They previously had a Shopify site that was probably 3 or 4 little items. And as they got into here and we're realizing, hey, they can have different options for different things, and they can have different languages and digital partners, and it's been an absolute game changer for them. They came back. So their original business and their core of their business is they do seminar trainings. An agency will call them up and say, hey, we need a training on a certain product. And they will have a trainer that leads that event. At one point it was in person. Now it's gone to virtual through Zoom. But that was always done outside the store. The store was just kind of a recent add-on that they started selling products, physical products and some digital products more recently. Well, after that, we launched this store a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago. They got the idea of starting to sell that event training through their store as well. I don't think they initially thought that they would get as good a response from their people as has happened. And so now they wanted to sell events through it. So we had to come up with a way for them to be able to sell events through here. And this was just the latest ad. If you want to see everything in depth, I'll let you guys go back and see the other one. But this was their latest ad where now rather than, let me show you what it previously looked like. So previously it was just, they only had two types, a standard and digital partner, and then they had language. And so these were for actual products that someone could purchase. Now they wanted to start selling events through, which is a total shift in their core business in terms of how they're looking to do it. And it's going to allow them to scale. So if I come in here, this is a test one that is an event-based training. So I'm coming in here to sign up for a specific event and have my staff get trained by the Great Kids staff. So they can come in here and say, I want to select that one. And then they can just come in and add however many. The big thing for them that we just recently did was once it got down under 3 spots, they wanted to show a sense of urgency. So now it shows 3 spots left. It doesn't allow them to go higher than 3, just standard stuff in terms of how you do it. This data is not set up very well. And they can add it to the cart and then they can proceed to the checkout. And I wasn't logged in. So they don't want people to have to log in until they get to the point of checkout. And now I can come over to my checkout and continue to the payment, go through all of this. This is kind of a neat feature too with the terms and conditions. They were really particular. They didn't want someone just to be able to click the box. So they did make their legal team wanted them to actually have to scroll to the bottom. And now they can click the box and now they can confirm purchase. Just kind of one of those neat little tricks that Andrew built in for them to give it a little bit more functionality. But I did show the whole system at a previous BetterForms Live. I wish you guys could have seen the Shopify site. I wish I had a screenshot of it. It was awful. So big thanks to the BetterForms team for doing that. And I asked Charles, can I show him one FileMaker thing too of something I'm working on?
Yeah, please do. That's what we built. So
showing so one of the issues that BetterForms has is they have all their agencies, and this is dummy data in here. This is our development environment. They have
the
their
BetterForms has, or did you say Great Kids has?
I'm sorry, that Great Kids has. I'm sorry. Wait, thank you for the correction. One of the issues that Great Kids has is people can sign up and create an agency on the web on their own. They also do imports of agencies into their system, and they were getting some duplicates. When they enter it in through FileMaker directly, there was some trapping to prevent that. But when they're coming in from the outside, it's a little tougher to prevent it. So they wanted to get some way to handle duplicates. And I would love any ways that people have done this in the past. They really needed like field level ability to merge, not just say, hey, this is the one, this other one's a duplicate. They needed to be able to take it because they could have 2 different agencies that have been in existence for a while before they realize they're a duplicate. And there could be orders from both. There could be all kinds of different things. So we built a way for them to do it. We have some code that identifies potential duplicates. So I'll show just those in here. And if I go to, let's go to Navigate. When they open up their dashboard, it shows how many potential duplicates have been flagged. We just haven't even rolled this out in production yet. I did a test run on their actual live data last night. They have less than, I think it's like 5% of their total agencies are duplicates. So it's not going to be many. They have 3,500 agencies or something, and there's less than 300 duplicates. So 150 duplicates really. But they can come in here, select the duplicate. Oh, one thing I want to show is a big thing for them is the key people. So they have 4 key people slots: the primary, the billing, the terms and conditions, and the payment. A lot of times those are all the same. Sometimes they're different. And then they have all their staff in addition to that. So we had to be able to handle merging all that data as well. So when I go to the merge here, there's a couple different things. The first thing is the ability to select the potential. If there's only one potential duplicate, it populates it. If not, they can come in here and on the sliding tray, they can select which one it is. Let's go this one. And it gives you all the key people. So I can say, hey, which one? No, this is actually should be the primary one. And I could flip them. So now they're flipped. I could select a different agency, whatever I want to do with that. But then we had to give them the ability to merge certain fields. So we had to do this run comparison. This is all done. It just builds a big JSON object that we're using virtual list to parse. And it goes through dynamically every field in the company table and the company additional table, which is just for performance reasons, a one-to-one table. And it does a comparison of all the fields. As we add fields, it dynamically, automatically adds that field to the comparison list. And so it's going through and comparing everything. And you can see it's showing only things that are different right now. I can say show all fields, and you can say now the country shows up. But if they're both the same, there's no reason for them to show. So I can come in here and say, hey, actually, this is the address and it's in Anchorage, and you can see it's now showing that this is the secondary, and this is and this one's going to merge on the primary. This is the company name I want to use. They're in Central Time Zone, however you want to do it, right? And really the only thing I need to know is which of the secondary fields are going to eventually go into the primary and merge into the primary. So at the end, they can come here and say, hey, just show me the secondary. So these are the ones that are going to get moved per se into that. But then you have all the related data as well that we need to switch keys around and do all that. So the first thing is they have to identify who the primary people is. So, hey, let's say Ahmad's the primary. Let's say in primary is the only one that's mandatory. You can see as soon as I selected primary, this requires action button goes away. That's the only one they require, is every agency has a primary. But then I can say, this one's the primary, Ahmad's the billing and the payment, and Lon's is the terms and conditions. And I would love any feedback on this, on how people have done this. And then the notes, this is just, they'll all get moved over into this primary ID. But if I want to see it, I can drill down and see into there. Same thing with orders. They can drill down into orders to make sure that they're truly duplicates, and they can look at all the different things in the assignments, and there's all kinds of different things that go into these. And really excited for it. We're in testing right now, and hopefully, and then obviously they hit merge, and it merges everything together with the field level reconciliation. With the field level reconciliation on the company table, and then all related tables, we're just changing the keys. We do grab this huge JSON object for what the original state was, if we do need to build a rollback feature in the future. But that's kind of where we're at. I'd love to hear if anyone else has done any sort of complex deduping that is more than just, hey, this is, keep this one, archive this one.
That's really cool. Chris, you, just to circle back a little bit, you mentioned that they just started to do events. Was that something, an idea that was spurred because they had a greater e-commerce presence now?
So they've always done events. That was
Offering?
their core business, but they've never offered to purchase them through like a store. The way that it always worked in the past, they had a form that we built in BetterForms that they would fill out and say, hey, I have they call it a seminar interest form. I have an interest in this event. And then it would be this back and forth, going back and saying, okay, how many people, what dates? Now they've kind of gone to saying, we'll still keep that for our big clients, but all these other clients that just want to sign up online,
Self-serve.
yeah, self-serve and allow them to scale. So,
And is there a big percentage of their business now sort of moving to that? Are they finding that's opening up a
we
new
just
opportunity?
rolled out the events 2 weeks ago, I think, Andrew, maybe 2 weeks ago. So we'll see. I think we'll have to determine how that is. But
Nice.
I think we just went live. Maybe it was even last week. They all blur together, but I think 2 weeks ago.
Anybody have any questions for Chris at all? All right. I think next is Jake Johnson, but I don't know if I see him in our call. I saw him come in.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. All right, man. Good. You good to go still, or?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. That was really cool. So I'm Jake. I work for Angel City Data. Our BetterForms installs are exploding every year, it seems like. And so we've had to kind of get up to speed really fast. And one of the cooler customers that we've had this year, we're really leveraging the platform in a number of ways. They're called law enforcement specialists. What they do is they kind of act as a staffing agency for off-duty police officers in Arizona, California, Texas, Florida, I think a few other states. And they needed a way they have a old FileMaker system that was built probably 20 years ago. And they needed a way for the jobs that get called in to get disseminated out to officers, kind of like Uber, like, hey, we've got this job opening. It's at this date, this time. Here's the pay. Here's the notes. There's some specific details, like you need to be in plain clothes, or you need an agency car or your own personal car, or whatever. And then the officers have the ability to kind of book those jobs for themselves and then go and work those jobs. Previously, this was done by calling officers to see if they were interested. But as LES started to grow, they needed an approach that fit a little more streamlined through the web. And so they did what any rational FileMaker developer would do, and they made a WebDirect portal. And surprise, surprise, it was not great. And so when we started working with them a little over a year ago, and we introduced the BetterForms platform to them and showed them some examples, and they said, when do we start? And so we started with the officer portal, where officers can log in and take jobs and work those jobs and log their miles and their time and everything. That has now since grown to that app, plus an app for the actual departments that those officers work for. Those departments like to be able to see what their officers are working, when they're working, how many hours they're working off the clock. They want to be able to see some geolocation data. So when officers log into a job, were they on site? Did they stay on site the whole time? As well as run some reports and things like that. So that's the second app. The next app we're going to build is actually for the clients. So, like Home Depot is redoing part of their parking lot, and they need to be able to book 2 officers for 3 weeks every day while that's happening, etc. Those kinds of things. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here and show you first the officer portal. So when you come to the officer portal, if we detect whether or not they're on a desktop or on a phone, the officer portal is intended to be used on a phone. So that's why you see this best on mobile thing. They can scan and install the PWA to their phone. I'm going to go ahead and continue without installing and log in here as an officer. Now I'm attached to an agency, so there's a lot of logic that's built in here that only displays jobs that certain officers are allowed to work. So jobs for their agency, jobs in their area, things like that. I won't go into all the specifics there, but I'll just go ahead and log in, and I should see some jobs. So this is sort of our home screen. You can see I've made a bunch of fake data here. This is for today, this job, but these are actual real jobs that are going out at the moment. So every job sort of folded into this kind of card. I can see date and time information as well as pay information up front. I can see any notables about the job, so I can see whether or not keys are required if I've got to open a gate or something like that. And I can see the type of job. Officers work either security or traffic jobs. So whether or not they're providing security for a parade or an event or something like that, or if they're directing traffic, they can see that right up front. I can also see the address, which links directly into their device's chosen sort of map product. So if it's Apple Maps, great. If it's Google Maps, fine. It does a pretty good job of that. Now sometimes they'll have officers that are working like the southern border, for example. So they'll just put international boundary line, Mexico, and it just sort of pulls that up. But most of the time it gets pretty spot on. The officers can come in here, they can filter by week. We're really trying to limit there's thousands and thousands of jobs here. So we are trying to approach this from a sort of a week by week basis. If they move ahead several weeks, they can obviously jump right back to the current week by clicking this little star. They can search the jobs at the top. They can filter them, whatever they need to do, or they can favorite them. So let's just say, hey, I think I want to book this job, but I'm not sure yet. I got to check with my schedule. So they would just go ahead and go in here and press this little heart guy. And then that would shove that job into a favorites area for them. You can see I've got a couple here. And then from there, if they want to, they can go ahead and book it. So I'll book this job for today in Burbank. So let me see. Yep. Okay. No, BetterForms. So, okay. So no, job booked successfully. I tried to click the button before the scripted run. So that now shows up in my jobs section. So if I'm using this button bar down here, I can see anything that I've got for today, anything upcoming, any jobs I've worked in the past. Or if I get to the job and I clock in, that now shoves that job over to active, and I'm allowed to clock out if I want to, or enter mileage. So I'll go ahead and say I drove 15 miles to this job. And we are using a blur here, which is kind of cool. So that actually updates the record in FileMaker as soon as they leave the field, rather than use a submit button like we typically would on a form. Since there's only one data point here, it felt like shoving a submit button on this card didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So that's why you saw that notification pop up. As soon as they're done working the job, they would go ahead and clock out. And at that point, work is done. I have no more upcoming jobs for the day. That then goes back to FileMaker. The amount that they're due to be paid gets run through QuickBooks and invoices run, and it's all done. So that's kind of the flow of the officer part of the portal. They also have some cool dashboarding here where they can see how much they've earned in a given year. So for 2024, here's how much earnings I've got, as well as how many miles I've driven on the job. And you can see this really neat sort of chart where it runs by month, and I can see which months are higher, which months are lower, which months I didn't do anything at all. This app actually launched in July, so most officers won't see anything for the first half of their year, but they'll see a whole lot for the second half and then going into 2025. So pretty short and sweet on the officer portal. I mean, there's some other things like they can update some personal information. They've got an availability matrix here where they're allowed to submit different availability days, all that good stuff. But this is what we started with because they have about 4,000 officers that are using this. And so that's the largest user data set. So that's why we started with the officer part of this. But it is relatively straightforward. It's a mobile app. It works the way you'd expect a mobile app to. The next part of the process is where things kind of started to get really interesting. And that was with the actual agencies who these officers work for. So I'm going to switch. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Mark just had a quick question there.
Oh, sure. Yeah. What's up? Maybe I'll look in the chat. Let's see.
I think
sorry, guys. Jake, this looks great. Thanks for sharing it. Quick question. You do something similar to what we do. Charles made this awesome mobile delivery app for us.
Yeah.
And when they click the map button, it takes them over, like you said, to their preferred, default map application.
That's right.
Have you, and it's great. Some of our clients don't love it because then they're kind of, okay, so I'm going back from the thing, from the mapping app. I got to go back to the browser window. Have you seen that the Google Places API, you can now embed it? They
Absolutely.
made it easier.
Yes. And
Have you tried it?
Yeah, actually in the next demo.
Okay. Sorry, buddy.
No, please interrupt me. I talk fast. So if there's something you want to see, just stop me and I'm happy to go over it. Yeah, we wanted to do that in this app, but they had a deadline of like, we need to launch August 1st. So I would assume that we will probably roll that out as a phase 2 on this particular app, but we did get to work it in on the agency part of the process. And I'm excited to show you that because it actually has some cool geolocation stuff in there that I think you'll find interesting. So
If you don't mind me asking,
yeah,
how hard was it to do?
not really not.
Like,
I mean, I think
hours, not days?
Hours, not days. I think Andrew and I worked on it for like 2.5 hours together.
Wow. Okay, great.
It was really easy. So, I mean,
it's a big enhancement.
It's huge enhancement. And as you know, the Places API has come a long way. So, you know, it is far easier to integrate with now. I'd say the hardest part was getting some of the particulars. Like, I'm picky about what shows up on maps. Like all the little, Google throws like 400 different labels on top of maps. And so figuring out which of those are actually helpful versus which actually are hindersome and all that, that actually took longer than getting the map working itself. So, yeah. So that is the officer part. I'm going to log in. So you can see here actually, my officer account, I work for Maricopa PD here in Arizona. I've got my badge number. And so I'm going to log in as a representative from Maricopa PD. And this is the agency portal. It is intended to be to be used on a desktop. So that's why it's not mobile optimized, but really kind of a nice user interface you're going to see here. They're immediately taken to a dashboard where it's sort of a high-level overview of everything that this agency has done with law enforcement specialists over time. So this is all of their officers forever. And I can see some cool stuff like, you know, I can see this agency sort of had a low part of these are the jobs that were worked throughout the year. And you can see that things are just moving up. And we're in December. This is all Apex charts. I really like Apex charts out of the box. I mean, it takes a degree of customization, I'd say, to get things looking the way that I'm happy with them. But I've found them to be pretty easy to work with. We were using some heat map stuff. So here's, you know, hours by the time of day. So I can see that on Thursdays around noon, my officers are doing a ton of work. You know, so as an agency, I'm allowed to kind of steer a little bit and be able to see, you know, I've got a bunch of officers working this chunk of the day. I don't really want that. They can sort of kind of steer their agency a little bit more. We offer in the app, when an officer completes work, we allow customers to rate the work. So, you know, if the officer showed up on time, we ask just a small series of questions, and that's a BetterForms page too. Where they're allowed to say, hey, he was on time, his demeanor was good, or, you know, he showed up drunk 3 hours late, whatever. You know, they're allowed to kind of weigh in. And so those ratings and reviews get logged in here. So I can see that this agency has a 4.1 star rating with 2,000 reviews. I've got this cool scatter chart that shows, you know, as we work more jobs, I can see that our ratings start to go up. So the ratings are a little lower when we've only worked 5 jobs for a customer, but as we increase the number of jobs that we work with a customer, those ratings tend to go up. So that just some marketing stuff for these agencies to be able to go, yeah, when we build relationships with a particular customer, they start to kind of get, you know, all that kind of stuff. I can see the types of jobs that have been worked by this agency. So I can see that, you know, we've done a bit more security jobs than we have traffic jobs. And again, this is just like for those departments to kind of really have their finger on the pulse of what exactly their officers are doing with their off time. And I can see types worked over time. So, you know, this is just sort of a general overview of the agency at large. They would typically go to this page, which is our jobs page. And they would come in here, and we've got this it's kind of a dual purpose page. I can staff officers on jobs right from here. I can see obviously fake customer. There's a lot of fake customers in here because I just made like 100 jobs. I've got these large badges at the top that sort of filter the information that you're looking at down below by things that make sense. So I've got 27 upcoming jobs. I've got 27 unstaffed jobs, and I've completed 29, right? And if I want to, what I can do is rather than use a view table, we kind of rolled this ourselves because we wanted to use these filter sets that are pretty dynamic. So let's say I want to throw a date range on here of maybe just the 24th through the 27th, you see how that gets added to this sort of filter stack, right? And I can even, if I just want to see, by officer, I can do that, and that would add it to the stack, but I'm allowed to kind of take those filters off as I go. Just sort of a nice paradigm, I think, for being able to filter information in a way that makes sense. I'll go ahead and remove the filter. A couple things here. This calendar, I got to be honest, this has been the hardest part of the entire thing. And the reason for that is because I'm incredibly picky about the way things look. And there were no libraries, full calendar included, that looked the way that I wanted this to look. So Andrew Dam and I rolled this completely from scratch on our own, which I do not recommend. I don't recommend doing it. If you're not as picky as me, it's not for the faint of heart. I just, if you can use full calendar, use it. So with this, but it did turn out really nicely. And I can see here, I'm in a week view for this week. I can see I've got a security job for fake customer and a traffic job for fake customer here. I can move back and forth between the weeks and kind of see what's going on. I could even jump into a month view if I want to, and I can see the jobs that are coming up. I like the week view, but the customer really wanted a calendar. And after a lot of research on just, I really wish full calendar had a better API for styling. It doesn't. And it just looked really out of place. Like it looked like you popped a web viewer, like a iframe into the website. It just didn't comport with the styling of the rest of the website. And that really bothered me. So that's why we rolled it ourselves. But again, not easy. Calendars are really challenging. So I'm going to go back to my list view, and I want to show you something. I just have to find a job here. I'm pretty sure it's going to be way down. Yeah. All right. So this job right here at the bottom, I can click this actions button, and if I want to, I can either assign an officer, I can release the job to another department, or I can view the job detail. And this is kind of where, Mark, where we're going to get into the map. So this is the detail of a job. I can see high level information at the top. I can see who was assigned to the job, any contact stuff, but this is where it gets interesting. So this is the actual job location. This is my house here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I actually logged into this job, and what we're doing is we are pinging the officer's phone for their location every 5 minutes. I think in this case, I did it every 5 seconds just to get a lot of data. But this should show if an officer clocks into a job, and you can see where they clocked in. If I zoom in as far as I can here, right here, this green pin, that's where they clocked in. And the red pin is where they clocked out. And then you've got this purple pin that is the actual location of the job. So the point here was for agencies to be able to take a look at how, some officers will clock into a job and then leave. And they're across town and then they come back. And we really wanted to gather that data. And it's pretty darn accurate. You can see here, I clocked in. This is in my house. This is kind of my office right here. I clocked into my office, and then I immediately walked all the way out to the edge of my driveway. And then I came back and I went out to the front yard and walked around on the porch, and then walked through the house a little bit, and then ended up in my office. So this should give agencies a better visual into what exactly their officers are doing while they're on these jobs, because it has been a complaint. And actually, we have another app that we're working on for a service-based industry customer, where they had the same problem. Actually, they were having techs. They send technicians out to do wiring for the city of San Diego, and they had some technicians that were clocking in, quote unquote, to a job, except they were on a boat in the Pacific Ocean. So we can easily tell that stuff now, which previously we couldn't. And getting this map in here was actually really simple, way simpler than I would have thought, which was good to see. The location pinging aspect of this was a bit more challenging, but we're just using JavaScript's native functions. So it's not terrible. You do run into some situations where, people can deny access to the app in terms of what giving them the location. And in that case, what we do is if the agency has said, no, you have to give us your location, they're not allowed to book jobs. So that's kind of how that works. And they're allowed to then go and reset that in settings, and they've got instructions on how to do that and everything. But getting that logistically worked out with the agencies was a little challenging, just because a lot of officers, as you can probably imagine, like their privacy. And we had to explain to them, we don't care what you do when you're not clocked into a job, but we do care when you are. And that's when we're going to track you. So that's the only time this app tracks them, is when they're actually clocked in. So that's an overview. Was there a question? Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, I mean, not that anybody's going to go to this trouble unless they really want to. Could they use a VPN to hide their location and make it look like they're always in a specific location?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Not a lot of control we get over that.
Okay. I mean, it's still pretty difficult. Like they would have to, I guess, set up a fake VPN at the location they're supposed to be at, and then
they would. Yeah, they would. And in our testing and experience with officers in general, most of them are not tech wizards by any means.
Yeah.
To put it politely. So they tend to just kind of roll with it. They press the clock in button and they press the clock out button. That's kind of it. But yeah, you could spoof it, I would assume. I mean, I'm not totally sure how we would get around that, but it would take quite a degree of
Jake, what's the mechanism you're using there again? Sorry, that you're using for tracking?
So what we're using, I believe, is get location. It's this guy here.
That's using GPS coordinates there.
Right. Yep.
So that even if you ran it through a VPN, it wouldn't make any difference. The same GPS coordinates, right?
The phone is.
It's calling the GPS it built into the phone.
You're right. Yeah. So the phone is. I mean, the phone is where the phone is. So I don't know if there are VPN products that can make the phone look like it's in a different area. If there are, I don't know that we have any way around that. But I don't think we so much have to worry about it in this particular case.
Something you could also do, just from food for thought while we're talking about this, if you're looking for a way of interactively pinging the user to find out where they are, you could use a push notification.
Yep.
That won't actually run code unless the user acknowledges that, but then they would just have to say the message would come in. It says time to check in. They hit the button once, and that's intrusive. It shows up on their watch or device. And then that will invoke the app, and then that can do a hook back to report the location.
That's not a bad idea. That might be something we want to look at.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. I like that because it requires some user feedback, which I always like.
Check it.
Yeah.
One other thing about the calendar. Did you look at? It's in the So Simple calendar from Paradise Partners, but they're using the DHTML-X calendar. If you look up DHTML-X, I've used that in the past. I used it from So Simple because I needed the FileMaker integration. But if you just need a straight JavaScript calendar, DHTML-X, it was phenomenal. The reason I needed it years ago was we needed to have time zone offsets, and full calendar didn't have time zone offsets easily. And this was faster than full calendar. This was phenomenal.
That's really good feedback. No, I did not look at this. So this is, I gotta tell you, this will probably be the last time I try to roll a calendar ourselves.
Yeah.
So anything.
So Simple rolls this into their product, but if you wanted to go to the base product, you could go with this.
Yeah, this is neat. This is definitely something that I'll look at. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Because we're kind of updating our internal notes on just like everything else here has been really straightforward. The calendar has not. So that may be something we use in the future. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I had So Simple input add to his calendar, which I don't know if it came from DHTML-X, was because of the time zone issue.
Yeah.
Incorporated the JavaScript. I can't remember what's it called. Is it the mod.js? Is it mod.js? It's the JavaScript library that converts time zones.
Is it Moment?
Moment. Thank you. Moment.
Yeah, Moment. We use Moment every day.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal.
Time zone math is not fun.
No, it sucks. And I mean, we're our company's based in Burbank, California. I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We have Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got Buffalo, New York. We've got somebody in Michigan. We have somebody in Arizona. So we do a lot of that. And Moment has honestly made it so much easier. So rather than try to do that math yourself, just save yourself some time and use Moment. It's already built into BetterForms. So
yeah, there's a funny article years ago. What time is it in Chile?
Right.
Because they were always changing their time zones.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Arizona, and we're the bastard stepchild of the whole country because we never changed time zones. And so when I work with any clients in Arizona, I have to remember, oh, I'm 3 hours ahead for this part of the year, but then I'm only 2 hours ahead for this part of the year. So scheduling meetings is the whole thing. But yeah, Moment, highly recommend.
You mentioned this app is now in production.
It is in beta. This agency app. So the officer app is in production. They've been using it for several months. We have many officers using this app. And honestly, we almost get 0 support tickets on this app at all.
Nice.
Because we really tried to boil it down to super straightforward for them to use. The agency, we have not gone live into production yet. We're in beta. We have, I think, 3 different agencies working on it right now, but we're still rolling out features. So they understand that, and we're caching a lot of different things in here. So we've given them, hey, if things start to look weird, just clear your cache and log back in, that kind of stuff. But I assume we'll be done with this part of the project in, I would say, early January. And then we're going to move into the client portal, which is kind of top tier. That's customer facing. So that has to be perfect. So this is almost there. We're almost there on this one.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Of course. Yeah. So the next part of the app is officers. So this is just who works here, who's at my location. I can see, in fact, hopefully I can just find myself, and I can. Cool. I can see the officer. I can see their availability. I can change the availability really easily by coming in here and going, he's not available Wednesdays anymore. He's available Sundays, Mondays. And then I can save that, and you can see that saved back into FileMaker, which that changes the logic of when jobs are shown to officers. So we have a whole lot of scripting that goes into what to show people when. And so we don't even show officers jobs that are booked, that are scheduled for days that they're not available. So that's why the availability matrix is important. Let me see if I can find one of the officers who I know has a lot of work in here. Because that kind of impacts the next screen I'm going to show you. And I don't remember his name. That's okay. If I have to, I'll just jump into somebody else. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go jump into Adam here. And what I can do is I can edit or view his details. And this is actually grabbing a lot of data from FileMaker and aggregating it into sort of an officer dashboard. I get a few things right up front. I can see how many jobs he's booked, how much hours he's worked. I can see upcoming jobs if there are any. In this case, there aren't. I think he actually had some jobs in December, maybe not. Let's go back to November, maybe not. This guy doesn't work that much, obviously. So I was trying to find a different user, but it's kind of neat. Let me see if I have jobs for myself. Okay, cool. So this is sort of what happens when officers do have jobs in here. In fact, I'll expand this time frame so you can see a little bit more. So if an officer has upcoming jobs, those show up here. We have this neat little thing where we really only show 4 up front, but then if there are more than 4, we see a little button that appears down here that says show 4 more until it gets to the end. That's kind of nice. I can see here the hours that an officer has worked in the year, and I can change this. I don't think I'll have anything for 2023, and I don't. But really easy to change the year here. Now, what's kind of cool is that the time frame on each of these cards is unique to that card. So if I want to compare hours worked 2024 versus types worked 2023, I can do that. I'm not changing one value, and that changes everything here. Now, there are some cases where that is appropriate, but in this case, it wasn't. we really wanted to kind of have each card be its own independent time frame where we could, do some compare and contrasting. I also have this just past jobs, when did this guy work? What did he do in 2024? This is everything that up until today. So pretty straightforward there.
Hey Jake.
Yeah.
I think AJ Wilson had a lot of jobs. If you want to show off
thank
that.
you.
officer.
Thank you. Thank
Just
you.
a quick reminder, we are running tight for time. We still got 5 more presenters.
Oh,
so
shoot. All right. Well, I can
keep that in
cut
mind.
it here. This guy should have a whole bunch of stuff, and he probably does. There. And hopefully FileMaker. Well, either way. Yeah, there we go. There's 3. Okay. So last screen is just a setting screen, and we're using a heck of a lot of shoelace in here, guys. So those are these toggles that you see here. Kind of a nice little UI. But that's really it. That's the app. They want to keep track of the jobs their officers are working, and the overall sort of hour spend that every officer is working throughout the year. So next up is customer portal, and then I think this customer will be done, and we're on to the next one. So that's what I've got.
Cool. Very good. Really neat to see a whole ecosystem, if you will, of apps, meaning like an end user app, a middle user app, the customer facing app, administration side, and FileMaker, and so on. All kind of working together off the same system. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
All right. Next, we have Jason Wood, who's going to be showing us kind of a slightly outside of BetterForms app, but all the skill set came from BetterForms. So go for it, Jason.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so first I just need to give you a bit of a background information. So this is the Wilderness Adventure Ride in Ontario Place. And this is what it looks like in 1985 when it opened. It's a log flume ride. And this is what it looks like a few years ago when I was exploring. And this is what it looked like a couple weeks ago. So it's gone now. Here's another picture during the demolition. But when Ontario Place closed as an amusement park in after 2011, they were completely shut down until 2018 when they reopened as a public park. So the rest of these pictures are from my explorations between 2018 and 2023. So I just got a bunch. I'll just sort of go through them fairly quickly. This is the progressive rot of the ride. So these are
This
all.
wasn't a sanctioned exploration, was it?
Well, it's pretty wide open, and there's no signage or anything that says. Well, here's one sign that says "Don't climb fence." That's an old sign. But most of the pictures I've shown you so far, these are areas you can sort of walk into very easily, and I don't think they really minded too much. Oh, here's a quick time lapse of the, so this is all public area, and then when I cross that fence there, that's kind of where they presumably don't really want you going too much. There's a lot of unsafe situations going on over here, although like I said, there's no sign, and that gate was open. And here's one more. So this is an area of the flume that was filled over, but you can see one of the observation stations there, and there's another one there. So those are all still there. This is a what do you call it? A cavern or whatever. But there were lots of doors that were closed that you couldn't get past. But in the first year, 2018, most of those doors were still open. They weren't boarded up yet. So you could really just wander into this some of these buildings like this one and this one. So this is inside the maintenance building where one of the lifts was, and this is inside the other lift. Some of the theming was still there. This is one of the pump rooms. So this is under lift 1, and this is the pump room under lift 2. And in this pump room, there was a head floating in this reservoir. So there's like 2 feet of water just below the frame there. And so I actually climbed down that ladder once with a big stick, and I retrieved that head and brought it out and put it on the ground there. Pretty cool. I left it there and it was gone next time I visited a week or two later. And then this is from a cabinet where sound effects were being produced. So there was these couple of boxes, and the inside it looked like this. And I actually connected these to my computer and made recordings of one of them, and the other one was actually damaged. And then this is a third one from another building, which I wasn't able to record. It looks like somebody has pried off the memory chip. It says 256.512 there. But I think this is the one that played when the ride started. It said, "Welcome to the Wilderness Adventure Ride." Pretty messy here.
Just to keep in mind, Jason, we do have a bit of a time schedule there.
Okay, I think it's pretty close to the end here.
Okay.
So these are control panels that I found here. And so I was able to map all those out except for the main one, which is gone. Lots of documents I could find, some wiring diagrams and things like that, super useful for me. There's sensors all over the place, and I was able to use those diagrams to figure out where everything would have been. And even took some measurements and figured out, water flow. And this is a document that Ontario Place actually sent me. They were able to send me just 4 pages of document. So I used all this information to sort of recreate the Wilderness Adventure Ride using Vue.js. And I originally created this in FM BetterForms. And so this actually, it's designed to be as close as possible approximation to the real ride. So all of the sensors are on here. I can zoom in and I can see the status of the sensors. The red means it's showing that there's something there, and green means there's not. And I can click on all of the different structures to see the control panel that was in that building. And these do work. So I've just stopped the conveyor belt there, and boats will start to back up at the bottom, and there it goes. I can run it again. So here's the another example of a control panel. So there's a whole bunch of them. The only one I had to kind of just make up was the load station because it doesn't exist anymore. But from the wiring diagrams, I could see that there were lots of things going on there. So I sort of just put them in a mash. So that's where I'm at with my project. The project continues. There's my next task is to fix this little problem here where the boats kind of crash into each other. They're supposed to go one on top of the others. It's kind of a unique challenge to get going. So this is an SVG, and I'm just basically repositioning all of these objects. Right now it's 36 times a second. Any questions?
Jason, it looks like you had time on your hands.
That's crazy. It's really
it's a great, like I have to say, it's an amazing project you've done. It's just, are you electrical engineers? Is that how you were able to figure out what did what? Oh, okay.
No, I just had to use my brain, a little bit of research. Yeah, this is something I've come back to over the years. I can't remember when I started doing it in FM BetterForms. It was probably a couple years ago. And then a few months ago, I redid it in Vue.js directly. So it is hard to find time to work on it for sure. So it's a little bit stuck right now, but my main thing that I want to work on next, other than that glitch, is getting the so that you can control the conveyor belts, because right now they just run continuously. But you can see they do actually operate, and I don't have the ability to turn them off and on right now, but that under the hood it kind of does work. It's just I have to add logic because there are sensors here that tell the boats when to stop and so on. So.
Wow. Super cool.
They're going to rebuild this park somewhere?
I don't think so. But I mean, some of my initial thoughts were to try to build like a model. Like I knew I would never do it. But one of the biggest problems is that gravity doesn't scale. So you wouldn't be able to get the water to flow right.
One thing that's kind of just to mention to everybody is SVGs and Vue work really, really nice together. It's literally SVG is a XML markdown. So your VIFs, all your bindings of the sizing, the spacing, the positionings along the path, and so on, can all just be correlated to numbers. So it's really, really easy if you're ever wanting to build some kind of an animation. We do have a couple videos and we have some examples on some stuff like that, but it's a fun thing if you ever have a client that needs something along those lines. I'm going to swap our order a little bit, and I'm going to have Nick come up while we still have some time. Nick, are you good to go? If you're still here. Nick Kurz. Is Nick still in our group? Might not.
I don't think I see him in here.
Cred. All right. And Stuart, let's have Stuart come up next then if you're free.
Yep, I'm available. Sure.
Awesome.
So let me just share desktop one and move that window over.
Yeah, Nick ran
Okay. So I work for Real Food for Real Kids. I've been here for a year and a half, and actually 2 years because I started on this contract. And Real Food for Real Kids does catering for 600 daycares in the Toronto area, in the Greater Toronto area. So about almost 400 of them actually get a hot lunch, and the other 200 and some get just a morning and afternoon snacks. And the ones that get hot lunch, most of them get morning and afternoon snacks as well. So we have a huge logistics and cooking operation. Our head office is down on Salter Street in Toronto, and we have a second building in Six Point. I don't know if anybody knows where Six Point is. It's sort of in the I'm not even sure, in the East End. And so the logistics is just a nightmare, and it's incredible what's been done with this company. It's been around for 20 years. And so we needed to build a client portal. Currently, until this portal was built, which has just gone live, people would submit PDF forms through a site called FormSite. And then the internal users would take the information on the form and manually enter it into FileMaker, for the orders and how many enrollments were there. So an example enrollment, just give you an example, and you have to bear with me. This system was designed in 2011 by another developer, not me. So yes, it's a busy screen. And this is an example enrollment from December 31st, ongoing, perpetual. They're getting this many AM snacks, lunch, and PM snacks, and these sizes, because we have toddler size, preschool size. It's actually, you can have infant, toddler, preschool, kindergarten, and school age. So you have all these different sizes of meals that would get packaged up, because everything has to be, if you're sending out a tray of macaroni and cheese, you need to be able to have a total size of all of these for that lunch. So there's 13 kids in this case. If we look at the regular here, this is their regular enrollment during the school year. So you need to have 127 total enrollments. So lunch 32 and 13. You got to figure out how much total macaroni you need for that, and you serve it and you send it to them in a big tray, and then they serve it to the children. Snacks are a little bit easier because they're just individual items. So I'll log in quickly into the system. So we have now, so the users, when they submitted, the clients, when they submitted their information to us, would have no insight into what their current enrollments are in our system. So let me just fill this in. So we needed to give them a way to have a view into the live system. Sure, be slow. Okay, so when they log in, they get their dashboard page. We're going to be doing a big update over Christmas. That's why I have that message up there. So it just shows them, if they have multiple centers, if the client might have multiple centers linked to them, they could go here and they could choose any of their other centers that they can manage. If they're only registered to a single center, then they would just have a log out button here. They wouldn't have other centers here. So this just shows who they are, the Mississauga Ridgeway Child Care Center. This is the client, our internal person, their client experience coordinator, Russell. And if they want to see what they have currently in enrollments, they just click the enrollments tab, and it shows them just that same screen that I just showed you in FileMaker. It shows them what they have in their enrollments. If they want to sort it by size, see how many they have for, infants for each meal. And then if they want to change the enrollment, they can click here and it'll go through a whole form. I'll show that in a minute. We also have milk. Milk is separate from the enrollments. Milk, they say to us, well, just send us a bag of milk, like for example, 2%, send us 2 bags on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday, and 2 on Thursday. 3.2 pint, the whole milk, send us 1, so we get a total of which milks they need on which days. Pantry items are individual items that would be, I'll click on one. This would be, for example, a birthday cake for a child, and the name is Riker. So we have to deliver that birthday cake on October 29th. Picnics in the warmer months, they have picnics, and these are quite complex. And if I click on one, this one, picnics get very complicated. It says they're going to have 15 toddlers and 32 preschool children going to the picnic. This is what we're going to be serving them. We're going to do 46 folded veg pizza, and then there's going to be 1 falafel marinara sandwich for this one child who has allergens to the pizza. So we track allergen data for every child who has allergen restrictions. And these are children who have allergen restrictions who will be attending that picnic. And only one of them requires a replacement. Actually, 2 of them do. Cucumber slices, I guess, is going to, no, only one child actually requires a replacement meal. All the other children will be able to eat the veggie pizza. So that's our picnics. We also track if a center says, don't send us any products that have soy nut butter or sunflower fat oil. It could be any center could have multiple restrictions, allergy restrictions, in which case we have to figure out substitutes. We have a whole system that figures out what to send. It looks at the ingredients of every recipe that's scheduled for a specific day, and then it figures out what are the substitutes for those recipes based on these allergens that are existing in that recipe. So if a regular recipe has soy nut butter, we have to figure out what recipe we can send that center instead. In addition, so that's center-wide allergens, but then there's also child allergens, which we need to track. So this is from December 24th, let's say December 20th, we can say till January 31st. These are the children who are currently registered who have allergens, and we have a list of allergens that they are allergic to. So if we can go in and go into more detail and scroll down, and they can't have anything to do with eggs, this child. So we've one of the reasons our company's, I think, the only daycare or the only caterer for daycares in the Toronto area who is tracking child allergens extensively and providing substitute meals for those children, whether it's a snack or a lunch. Everything is, and if it's a snack or a lunch, then it's prepackaged for that child individually to send them their specific lunch with a label on it, with their name on it.
Stuart, does that become a unique selling benefit
Yes.
for Real Foods?
Yes, that is there's 2 unique benefits. One is the child allergen, but also that we are producing food with fresh ingredients and and whole ingredients, and as few, as natural as possible. So the food tastes better. And we often get comments from the daycares that they're getting comments from the parents and children how much they enjoy the food. And so we are not the cheapest caterer. We are competitive, but it's because the quality of our food is far superior to what the other caterers in the Toronto area are providing.
So just going back to the app. So is that a selling thing for the business, that Real Food is saying, hey, we have this portal where you can customize these attributes?
Yes, it will be. So previously they had to fill out a bunch of PDF forms and send them to us, and we had to manually enter them into our system. The whole point of the client portal is they'll now be able to see the data and submit a change. And when they submit a change, they'll then get an email, and I'll just display the email here. They'll get an email that I've just started building that shows a record of what they submitted. So they can keep this email, and we'll also have a record of this email as well. So I'm using the Gmail API to send this email in an HTML format.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Questions for Stuart?
We have one other thing here I wanted to show, and this is, I want to thank Jason for this. This was the Amazon S3. So this was, we also provide, by law, we have to provide this document every month that shows all the children who, every child who has a dietary restriction, and they have to post this in their daycare. So this is actually a legal requirement. So I'm not going to show you the child's name. I tried to skim past this, and this is what they are scheduled to receive over this coming month. That this is the meal that they're not going to get, and this is the substitute they're going to get. And so we have to present this PDF to them. So we were first printing these documents and delivering these documents to them every month. And then earlier this year, they finally went to the email method, where we were hosting them in a Google Drive and then emailing them, having to do a mail merge. And now we're going to be hosting them here. And I've built a whole process that creates these they're called schedule of dietary restrictions. And it's going to produce them and upload them into S3 and link them in FileMaker, and we'll be able to get to them right from here. And then the user, the customer, can come in and download them and print them themselves.
Awesome.
Yep. And there's also links to our previous childcare site, which is built in WordPress by another developer. So he's linked it back in through here, so we can actually access the whole original site right here. So this is all linked to our WordPress site. So that's basically it. Any questions?
Thank you. All right, we just got a couple more things here. We got a couple smaller apps that some of our team was going to show, I think.
How do I stop? Oh, there's the stop.
And maybe what we'll do is we're getting pretty tight to time. Andrew, you still in the call?
Stuart, you also have a question in the chat.
Oh, I didn't see it. Sorry. Are you installing licensing this? I know some of it. Yes, we are. Oh, we definitely are. And you should speak with Greg Davis, who's on the call. He's my manager. Greg Davis.
All right. So I'm going to have Andrew just jump in quick, just a quick 5 minutes, then Hassan a quick 5, and then we'll do our swag draw, just because we're a little bit behind here.
Yep, I'll be quick.
This
I
is
just want to show off one of our projects that we worked on in the last year, and I don't know if anyone here is familiar with someone by the name of Dr. Stephen Greer, but he's a ufologist who looks into alien evidence and stuff like that, and he has a big archive that he wanted us to publish to the web. So we built this portal for them, and Charles can kind of chime in here, but it's caused a lot of not not issues, but a lot of challenges for us to in terms of optimizing and caching data and making sure all that data is served quick. So there's a lot of cool tricks in here that we put in.
Hmm.
So
Sorry, Andrew, just a quick thing. When this site went live, this one site accounted for 4 times the total amount of traffic on our network. So that means take everybody else's apps, hundreds of other apps, put them all together, times 4 was this one site alone. So we definitely had to do a little bit of optimization when it went live, but now it can handle the traffic no problem at all. And we'll talk a little bit in a second about what we did there.
Yep. So when you come to this page, you'll see a bunch of categories. This is essentially a database of documents. So in categories, you have categories and then subcategories inside those categories, and then eventually you get to a list of documents in which you can select them. For example, let's select this one here. It's a PDF that loads. You can open it, you can view it, go back. It'll scroll back to where it left you off before, and you can kind of go and quickly scan through all the documents that are available on this on this site. And you notice that going back and forth is quite fast. We've done a lot of caching, things like that. Even on the main page here, this page loads pretty much instantaneously, even these subcategories as well. But for example, this category here for United States has about 1,000 documents, and there were a lot of optimizing and caching that we've done on the back end to serve this data a lot faster. And especially the load that I had on our network, we need to make sure that we weren't sending back megabytes of data every time they wanted to view a document. So a lot of cool things we did there. Charles, did you want to mention any of the caching or data stuff that we did there?
So there's I mean, we've talked a little bit in the past about caching, but we got quite a few BetterForms devs, so I'll just mention it quick. Different levels of caching. You can cache right in FileMaker, so you can take aggregate data, save it in a field. So we do that already for the categories and for the items that are underneath. That's a low-hanging fruit. But when you have, say, 200 or 300 users on that are hitting the database and fetching that one record every 4 or 5 seconds because they're browsing, they're not actually entering data, so they're not really consuming that much. They're just flicking around. So you're getting a lot of extra hits on the database. So to reduce that, we actually do in-browser caching that Andrew built in. And what happens there is as you navigate around, it does a single fetch and then it reuses that data. And then after a certain expiry time, it goes back and it'll refetch the data again every half an hour or something like that. And that significantly deburdens FileMaker. There's more levels. If we wanted to scale this up another 10 or 100x, the original requirement was, let's say we've seen some performance issues, so let's scale it up to 2 orders of magnitude, so 100 times more performant. So that's what we did. We just did those 2 things that gave us that much. If we wanted to go another order or 2, another 10,000 or 1,000 to 10,000 times scalability, the BetterForms network's no problem. We can do that because we can instantly scale. But FileMaker as a database can't as much. So then you would add maybe some more caching in between, but already as it sits, it can pretty much scale up to, another 10x probably fine. So it's something you can do. I know a lot of you guys have already done different types of optimizations like that. Sorry, Andrew.
No worries. Yeah, so that was a fun challenge for us to solve there. Last thing I want to show off here is kind of the navigation aspect, because this little drop down here, because there's so many categories and they need to kind of view it from not only a desktop but a mobile device. We made it as streamlined as possible for them to find what they're looking for. These search bars will search the entire database for a given document, stuff like that. And even on a mobile device, we have a sidebar here. Credit to Rashad and Linshu, who built a lot of this segment here, but this is just some inspiration on on maybe a mobile focused sidebar, blurs out the screen, and they can come here and quickly navigate to whatever category they're looking for. But yeah, we'll stop it there.
Thanks, Andrew. Very last one, I think, is an app that Hassan has worked on with a FileMaker developer as well. If you want to take the screen and then we'll call it a wrap. And I think you're muted, Hassan.
Oh, I was muted. Oh. Well, I was showing off the login. This is designed by Pearson, and I like the login page because it was kind of like it looked kind of modern, so I like that, and it looks nice kind of on mobile as well. I'll start off by showing one feature that I kind of want to show because I think it applies to a lot of people. I've had a lot of people ask about something like this before, and that's kind of an auto logout feature. Where your app kind of just auto logs out after you're not active for a while, and I'll kind of just show the underlying code for that since it's fairly basic. So right here, I'm just going to go into my actions and this timer I have here, this function. I'm just going to set this to 10 seconds just for demonstration purposes. All right, and now let me just show how that would react. So we'll give this 10 seconds now. And this is just an auto logout feature where we like it depending on the type of app, we don't want people kind of lingering around because after a while their token might expire as well. So right here, after 10 seconds, this pops up. And right now this is set to after another 5 minutes, I'll just auto log out the person. And if they're here, they can just click I'm still here. And then it'll just do a full refresh on their page just to update them, and they go back to where they were. How this works is there's I have 3 functions over here. There's a listener, a reset, and a timer. The main one's the timer. All it does here is it just starts a timer, and you can just put it to 900 seconds. That's the default we want it at. And there's a listener on the page where if I go here, there's a listener on the page. Anytime I click anything on the page, the timer will just reset. So it's fairly low code. They click anything on the page. It's just a event listener looking for any clicks. Any clicks just resets the timer, then it goes back. So yeah, that was I think I'll just leave that at there for now. One feature I want to show off. Any questions?
Hassan, does that have to be on every page or
No,
are you doing that? Okay.
This is not on every page. I have this. This is in the global scripts over here.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
So right on the on upload, I run this, and that's it.
Nice.
Right. If there's no further questions, I'll pass it back to Charles.
All right, thanks, Hassan. Some really, really cool apps. Thank you everybody for presenting. We're gonna have our draw right now. If there are any questions, any lingering questions for anybody, we kick around after the show today as well, and make sure you bring the stuff. I was just in a private message, and I was just saying that it's incredibly rewarding for us as a team to be able to see all these amazing things that you guys build, especially on I remember 7 years ago, I presented BetterForms as a concept, and everybody said, why are you building something so complex? Why is it so complex? Why do you need it to do this? Why don't you just make the form or make the thing that it was supposed to be for? And I was trying to get this idea across, and then now we can see how it came to fruition. So it's super, super exciting for us. We're really, really excited about the things that are coming up in the next year. Mostly new editor, got a number of new features in the queue that are going to be they're going to be trickling out as well. So I'm really, really, really pumped there. Let's jump to our weekly draw here. Basically, if you're here, you win. If you're not here, we spin again. That's how that works.
This for Tide.
And are you here? Akai Johnson, going once, twice. Oh, all right, we'll go again. Somebody was telling me that this is the most stressful part of the. And Greg, I think Greg was on the call.
Yeah.
If he's still here.
That's my boss. Can I take it for him? He should get something.
He's not on the call, man. I explained the rules.
He was
before
in
we
most
started.
of the call. He watched my whole presentation.
Most doesn't count, man. Most doesn't count. I was very clear on the rules. Right? All right. But we'll hook him up with something anyway. Consolation prize. There you go. Mark still here?
I
Yes,
sure
he
am,
is.
buddy.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. All good. Congratulations, Madeleine. I'll get your information. And we got some stuff. Here's this week's prize. Authentic BetterForms toques. I think they're pretty good. They're warm, a little tight on the head, but that's okay. And we're all set. All right. Thanks again, everybody. And we'll see you next year. Have yourself a great holiday.